All right, happy Thursday. So we've got a trade, and it's not going to be the voided Bull Rodney Magruder trade that we are going to talk about, but we've got a Knicks trade. How about that? So we put out this big monster trade guide earlier in the week, I believe on Tuesday. We talked about Atlanta. We talked about the Knicks as far as what direction that we are going to go in, and Atlanta makes a deal where they flip their young forward Cam Reddish, Solomon Hill, a 2025 second that they had from Brooklyn. Those three guys go to New York. Atlanta gets back Kevin Knox, former lottery pick, top 10 Kevin Knox, and a protected first from Charlotte. That is a top 18 protected first. So I figured we'll do a little bit of a video on this, just kind of philosophy. Why Atlanta? Why New York? Why do a deal now? Why not wait till February 10th? Could the Hawks have gotten more for Reddish? So from the Hawks' perspective, this thing is spiraling out of control. 17 and 23, 3 games out of the play-in spot for a team that was 2 games away from the NBA Finals. You invested $300 million. We wrote about it in Trae Young, Clint Capella, John Collins, Kevin Huerter. It's a lot of money. You had big decisions that were coming with Cam Reddish, with DeAndre Hunter. Both players are extension eligible this offseason. You cannot pay everyone, right? So if you're Atlanta, what's the best value from Reddish standpoint? They certainly scoured the market, and when they looked at it, it's a first-round pick that you are recouping. It's got protection in, I'm going to pull it up here. It's got protection in the next 4 years, I believe. Let me pull it here. Sorry, I don't have it. So it's protected top 18 in 2022, top 16 in 2023, top 14 in 2024, 2025. Turns into 2 seconds in 26 and 27 if it had not been conveyed. That's the Hornets pick there. That's a team that's played good basketball of late. We'll see where that falls at the end. We'll see if that pick maybe gets turned into something else. I said it in a tweet. Whenever teams do a deal, certainly like this, there's always a part 2 and a part 3 to it, right? So what does that Charlotte pick turn into? Does it turn into a player that can help the roster right now? Does it turn into a draft pick that they use in June? Does it turn into something else? There's going to be a part to this equation here. We just don't know kind of what it is. And if you're a Hawks fan, you're thinking, man, couldn't we have gotten multiple firsts? He's a 22-year-old forward. He's coming off an Achilles injury, not a torn Achilles. I believe a year ago where he missed 55 games. Has had a right ankle this year. Hasn't cracked, shooting more than 40%. He is a below-average shooter with a ton of upside, and you are going to be forced to make a decision as far as what you are going to have to do from a pay standpoint. And that's the business of basketball here, right? As I said, you cannot pay everyone. Could you have said, you know what, we're just going to ride this out. Let's get to the offseason. We'll see where he is extension-wise, possibly. But you could probably lose a little bit of leverage there. So I understand it from Atlanta's perspective, certainly from a team standpoint, where you're 17 and 23 right now, and you are struggling. You're looking to maybe shake up the roster here. We'll see what happens with Kevin Knox, who's going to be a restricted free agent here. You were looking for, if Cam Reddish was this 3-and-D guy, he's got great length, he's 6'8", he's 22. If he was a 3-and-D guy that you knew was part of your future, you would have kept him, and then you've kind of figure out the financial part of it later, whether it meant maybe moving John Collins down the road, maybe not signing DeAndre Hunter to an extension. And obviously, they didn't feel like he was part of their future, so he moves on. He goes to New York, gives you a little bit more flexibility below the luxury tax, $2.4 million. You get a trade exception, which is very minor here. But I don't think Atlanta's done. They've got, some decisions to make. kind of, are they in or are they out? When you commit that much money to Young, to Collins, to Capella, you basically have pushed all your chips to the middle. Now you have another draft pick from the Hornets, as I mentioned. What does that turn into? You still have all your own first. You've got a first from Oklahoma City, also that's lottery protected 14, top 14. So I like it from New York standpoint. It's a flyer, right? You basically give up a Charlotte first that wasn't one of yours. You got it in the draft in late July for a player that you can have for 2 years, team-friendly contract, 4.7, 5.9. You don't have to do an extension for Cam Reddish. I don't see any risk to this at all. Can you make the argument that, hey, does him and RJ Barrett duplicate each other? Possibly. It's a flyer here, right? See what happens with Reddish. Maybe he turns into something else. Use the next 3 or 4 months to figure out what he is. How does he fit in? And then make a decision this July as far as from an extension standpoint. And if not, you ride out the season, and he's a restricted free agent in 2023. So I didn't see any risk at all from New York standpoint. I wrote in their trade guide that New York has to take a big picture approach, put all those draft picks in a vault, lock them away, just figure out what this roster is. I think this deal is a big picture approach. I really do. I think with Reddish, based on him being a restricted free agent in 23, extension eligible now, can kind of come in. I want to see him on starter minutes in a consistent, not coming off the bench playing 10 minutes, not playing 15 minutes. I want to see him healthy. I'm going to be interested to see where, he missed the last game, I think, with a right ankle soreness. He had that Achilles issue a year ago. It's not a slam dunk. Funny story. When we acquired Vince Carter from Toronto, and I think we gave up 2 second-round picks. We were high-fiving each other in the room because although Vince was coming injured, we knew we were getting a heck of a player. This isn't highway robbery, right? Cam Reddish is not an all-star. He's not all-NBA. It's not like they couldn't sign him and they just needed to trade him, right? The jury is still out on Cam Reddish. He has a ton of upside here. But as I said, let's see where he has starter minutes. Let's see where he's with health. Let's see how he fits with RJ Barrett. No risk as far as with New York standpoint because there was no big trade out there where they needed that Charlotte pick. So that's a little bit on Atlanta and New York. Reddish goes to New York. Kevin Knox goes to Atlanta. We'll see what happens with the Hawks as far as if they can turn this team around. And if there is another big deal out there. Have a great Thursday, everyone.